Agud Voch Boisai. Live from Park City, Utah. It's the final week. One more week in Utah, and then off to Eretz Yisrael. I should be back in Israel Friday. I think so. I don't know the first year, maybe Thursday night. Boys, I just received this morning. It even says Friday, August 15th, from Azriel Weinberg. So I received 2 emails. Gives me a lot to know these emails. He says, I'm a yeshiva bacher, learning yeshiva g'dayla, in other words, post-high school. And almost every bin azmanim, every vacation, I don't open up a Gemara. I want to tell you that in your schos, for real in your schos, I'm zoycha to learn every single day, early in the morning, after Shachris. A day with your shir and without is 2 different days. Now you should know that you also gave me a lot of cheshik and learning and a lot of nachas to my parents. I am jealous of your schusim. Thank you. You should continue to be married with Torah shkoyach. And then we have this. No, where's that one from the other bacher? I want to do them back to back if possible, but I don't know where it is. Oh, in the beginning of Ben Azmanim, says Mordechai Frank, I listened to the beginning of your shir, aka the email parts, and got hooked, and decided that I would learn the shiurim on brachas since my kihila is learning it now, and I love the shir even back when the emails were on gigantic pieces of paper. Anyway, you should know that you changed my Ben Azmanim, and I haven't missed a day without Torah. I know that you won't like this, but I just can't bring myself to start in middle of a Masechta. So Mr. Shem, I will start the next Masechta and will be part of the MDY family. Looking forward, Tzaddik. Thank you so much, Mordechai Frank. So two Yeshiva Bachrim gives me a lot of know that we're able to be mashpia even on Yeshiva guys. You got to see this. The Olam pulled out the phones in Ziploc bags and did the daf, and then we listened to Yidel Werdiger's Mimamakim song and daven for Yeshua's and Refuah's of all Klal Yisrael. By the way, we're a group of electricians spending a day together, rafting and barbecuing. We actually have a WhatsApp group of close to 300 electricians where we help each other with anything needed. So you should know, Nussi Wax, I have a very soft spot for you and your whole chevra because I used to be an electrician. I started off in I wanted to do all the trades. Before I got into real estate, I knew I wanted to do real estate where I buy properties, but I wanted to know properties from the bottom up. So I worked in construction and things like that for 3 to 4 years. My first year plus was I was an electrician. All I did was bent pipe because in Chicago you have to have piped and then put the wires through the pipe. So I did everything from bending pipe and circuit breakers and all that geschmack stuff. Got electrocuted a bunch of times. It was gewaldic. By the way, we agree. Yeah. So I have a Bezer Shem. So take your group of 300 and make them 300 MD wires. Gewaldic. Start pricing jobs and even giving the work to others who need it just by posting it on the group. Mi Kamcha Yisrael with MDY. Unlike the others, we as Holy Yidden know that everything's from Hashem and there's no such thing as competition. Unbelievable. Go with such emunah, bitachon. I'm proud to be part of this special group and this holy nation. Your Talmud forever. Nussi Wax, Abe's brother. Here they are, boys. With the Ziploc bags on the river. So beautiful. I get energized by seeing these pictures.
Somebody screamed from the second floor.
If Mamish worked out because he screamed and I like talking to him. The daf never stops even on vacation. Muncie firefighter Morty Strauss, the one holding the phone with the light blue shirt, met Rabbi Brieger from Lakewood. He's been to the marriage a bunch of times. His son Leiby and Camp Adventure Daffers on a boat in Charleston, South Carolina. You hear this? 2 guys meet up in Charleston, South Carolina on a boat. And all MDYers, and they're even proving it with the different merch they have. MDY's Mishpacha, wherever you go. Gewaldige stuff. From Chaim Reichbach, very close to Reichenbach from Chicago, but not. He's a lawyer in Israel and America. Here we go. Studying the daf in Norway.
Rabosai. It's geschmack to do the daf, even on the mountains and in the fjords of Norway.
Gewaldig. I don't know, that might be the first time we were in Norway. Masechta sponsor David Solomon, dedicated in memory of Avi Meir Reb Shmuel Baruch Ben Reb Chaim Tzvi Doiv Zichron Levracha. More sponsors of the Masechta. Anonymous, Hatzlacha Baruch Nis V'Gashmis U'Leschus Achinu B'nei Yisrael. Anonymous, may our learning be a shield of protection and a source of unity and blessing for Am Yisrael. Joel Gedalius, Yunishmas, my father, Jack Gedalius. Multi sponsors TCS Israel, Power by Talk and Save. Anonymous, Refuah Shlema, Sarah Bat Motaram, and Shira Bat Sarah. Avi Kamiansky, Refuah Shlema for Harav Yisrael Zev B'Manya Rochel. And by Dr. Avram Epstein and his wife Rivka, Refuah Shlema for Shoshana Bas Rochel. Amen. Wow. Dr. Avram Epstein, I miss you. Daily sponsors, Francie Brin and Dr. Barry Fewer. Lili Nishmas, our mother, Toba Bas Eliezer, on her 5th yahrzeit, Shabbos Kodesh Chav Beis of Shalom Aaron Ordentlich. In honor of a great friend, Moshe Landy should have much continued hatzlacha in all that he does. Mordechai Sapazik and family. See, Mo Landy is no longer Mo Landy, it's Moshe Landy. I'm starting to call him Moshe Landy. Mordechai Sapazik and family, the Zeich Nishmas, our neighbor who just passed away, Mrs. Doris Ben-Tzvi. Chayed Dvor Abbas, Avram, Aleh Shalom, and Neshama, have an Aliyah. Amen. MDYR, monthly Refuah Shlema, 4 year Tanedim Ben B'Shav Bracha. Refuah Shlema, Mordechai Ben Esther, Refuah Ayala Daniel, Zev Ben Ayelet Esther. Rabbi Yisai, here we are, towards the end of Avodah Zarah. Let's chaparain. Every minute, every daf, geschmack. So if we just take it back a little bit to Nun Ches Amud Beis, we did the story, we got to do it again a little bit. Rish Lakish ikla leBatzra. Rish Lakish went to a place called Batzra, Chaz Yisrael degach lepei v'lemasri, and he noticed Jews that are eating fruit without taking trumas and maasros. V'asalu, and he said, these fruit are awesome. Chaz amay desagdilu oivdikacham v'shos Yisrael. He saw, let's go back even to this one, from Nachman Fix, who's in Switzerland, and now I know why the Stefanskys moved to Switzerland back in the day. Not from this picture. You got to see some of the videos that Noam sent me. So Nachman asks the question, if you bow to drink from the water, is it a problem, not a problem? Here the Gemara says, the idol worshippers, they bowed to the water. And the Jews drank from it. Vasalu, and Shlakish said it's awesome. Also, the Kamei Rabbi Yochanan, we came to Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Leis, Rabbi Yochanan says to Shlakish, before you take off your clothes, I know you're very tired from the trip, but before you take off your jacket and relax, go back and say, Betzer lav hainu batzra. First of all, Betzer is in the Torah, Batzra is not in Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, the Jews over there didn't take Trumas and Maasros. Umayim shel rabim ain't ne'esarim. And you should know that public water cannot become asur. So here's where we're holding, and I have a riddle for the Olam. How is it possible that a human being is not allowed to marry a Jew or a non-Jew? How's it possible? What's the case? So I hope that you remind me, even though nobody's sitting here in front of me, the answer is coming up in the Gemara. Maybe I should put my little sticker over here. Maybe it'll remind me. Okay. So Rabbi Yochanan Tamei. If you said a mamzer, not true, because a mamzer could marry certain people. Now, why did Rabbi Yochanan argue with Rish Lakish when it comes to water? When a guy bows to water, why does he say that it's mutter? We learned it mafurish in the Mishnah Daf Mem Hey or Mem Vav. I think it's Mem. Yeah, Mem Hey. It says over there in the Mishnah, Elohim ala harim, that their gods are on top of the mountain, but the mountain itself doesn't become asur. Hadi yachid nesarim, seems like that private water should become asur. Ask the Gemara, but we have a problem. Water is no different than a mountain. If a mountain, you cannot create an Avodah Zarah out of a mountain. You can't. A guy can't look at a mountain and say, "Hey, mountain, you are an Avodah Zarah. Mount Rushmore, you are an Avodah Zarah." Maybe Mount Rushmore is different because they made a Mises, like we said. If somebody makes a bar shiach or ma'ara on a mountain, okay, so we're not going to talk about Mount Rushmore. But it's just a mountain. Looking at a beautiful mountain in Switzerland, and say, "I want to make that mountain an Avodah Zarah." It doesn't work. Water, says the Gemara, is like a mountain. What's a mountain? A mountain is comprised from small pieces of dirt or whatever it is, sand, rock. Over here you have a bunch of water. It's one piece. You can't make water, you can't make water in Avodah Zarah. Says the Gemara, we're talking about, I don't want to confuse the Olam, you have a nice wave, or here, let's look at this wave. If you look at the end of the wave, you have parts of the water that are separated from the wave. Those are the parts that this person worshipped. He worshipped, and not the solid mass of the water, but the little pieces that spray and disconnect from the actual wave. I'm just having in mind the schus, my good friend David, the surfer, Shkoyach. So I heard from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. I don't know exactly, so I'm going to add my own piece. If this is what he said, he said. If not, I'm saying it. Basically, a typical person, if he's hit by such a wave, what would happen? He'd drown. A wave is a dangerous thing. Yet, there are people that seek these waves. They love these waves. They actually fly to different countries. David Hagal found MDY close to 7 years ago because he was on a surfing trip and he looked us up. He was in Curacao, I don't remember anywhere, it was some island, and he looked us up. That's when he found us. People fly to other countries to catch the wave. But most people, the wave is a dangerous thing for them. If they're swimming around in the ocean, also one of these things hits them, it could be super dangerous. Yet, these people that know how to maneuver the wave, they have the right equipment, they have that surfboard, they know how to use the surfboard. So the wave is unbelievable for them. And the same thing is life. When you don't know how to maneuver and somebody says something to you, it can be devastating. But if you work on yourself and you have the right tools and you understand life, you work on yourself. So somebody says something to you, it elevates you. You ride it. It's geschmack. It feels good that you're able to ignore and make yourself a better person. You can use it for the daf as well if you have the right tools. So yes, a hard day comes and it's like a wave and it hits you and you don't know what to do and you don't want. You have the right tools. You get out of it. You learn, and at the end you feel good about yourself. Zog the Gemara. Okay, so you have a little piece of water that detached from the wave. I'll just remind you, we had this art back then. You have a large stone. I remember saying then that we saw like they build these fences everywhere when you have these major mountains, and you can see that stones fall down. They actually do fall down. They crush cars. They crush things. And we had all machlokes over there. Are these stones considered part of the mountain, and therefore they don't become Avodah Zarah, or perhaps they're not part of the mountain? There's a whole shiloh over there. Tfisas yidei adam. There was no human intervention. It fell by itself. Not. Avnei harshin adaldaninu. Oh, tfisas yidei adam. Very good. So says the Gemara. This time the Rebbe Yechon Dama Asuros. Over there in that sugya, there was a debate. Who said what? Was it Rabbi Yochanan? Was it the sons of Rabbi Chia? And the Gemara doesn't know. Over here it says Mefurish that Rabbi Yochanan holds that by water remains also, meaning that pieces that come off the salad have a halacha as non-salad pieces, and therefore it's aser. The stone of the mountain should be aser, not like the mountain. The mountain is mutter, doesn't become avodah zarah. The stone does. Here, this is Rabbi Yochanan. How do I know? Because when it comes to water, the solid mass of water doesn't become avodah zarah, but the pieces that come off the wave do become avodah zarah. Here, it's Rabbi Yochanan. Says Gemara, no, we're talking about the guy, he moved up the water with his hand. He created the wave by his hand. So that's why this tfisas yidei adam, here, this musag of tfisas yidei adam is a human intervention. Once it's human intervention, then it becomes awesome. Says the Gemara story, Reb Chia bar Abba ikla legavla. Reb Chia bar Abba went to Gavla. He noticed that these Jewish women became pregnant from non-Jews, from idol worshippers, Shemalu, who had a bris milah, v'lo tavlo. Right? Like the sugi we had yesterday, you have a person who becomes a ger, or an eved, we were talking about gerim here, in the process. And I guess it's not so comfortable to go to the mikveh that day. You probably have to wait a week, I don't know how long, until it heals. So they were in between the process. They had the bris milah, and they didn't have a tvila. And they got pregnant. These Jewish women, they thought that they're okay, that the gerim. And they got pregnant. This actually answers the riddle. According to some, a person who is in the process of becoming a ger, who had a bris milah, is somewhat Jewish but not Jewish. And therefore he cannot marry, halachically, cannot marry a guy, and he can't marry a Jew because he didn't have tefillah. That answers the question. Here's a person who can't marry anyone in the world because he's in the process. He's in between. He's nishtahin and nishtaher. He's not a Jew and not a Yid, but he's not a guy either. So he can't marry a guy. But he's not a Jew, so he can't marry a Jew. There's a Maisa Shahaya with Rav Moshe Feinstein. A woman who was engaged came to Rav Moshe Feinstein and she said that she found out that her mom married a soldier in England and they got divorced, but only a civil divorce. And therefore that made her an Ish. And her mother went and got married to somebody and had her, this woman who's asking the Shaila. And this woman who's asking the Shaila is a Baal Shuvah. And she wants to know if she can marry her chasam because she, l'chayr, is a mamzeres. Why? Because her mother was never divorced from her original husband. She had a civil divorce, but not a real divorce. Is that a mamzer or not? So Rav Moshe said, let me think about it. Come back tomorrow. So she came back and Rav Moshe said, you're allowed to marry him. Why? He found out, this is the story, he called up the Pentagon or whatever he did some research, and he found out that yes, there was such a soldier. The thing with the soldier is that he, before he married this woman's mother, he had another family, and he never told this woman's mother. He had a wife and 2 children. Says Rav Moshe, had your mom known that he was a married person with a family, she would have never married him. That's called a mekach tos. And because of the mekach tos, she was never married to the first husband, only to the second one, and therefore you're not a mamzeres. Moshe Feinstein, at his best, caring about another human being, looking for the tshuva, and getting to the bottom of it. So, he saw three things that he didn't like. He saw that these women were getting pregnant from goyim that had a milah but not tefillah. He saw the sugi that we saw yesterday, that the non-Jew was diluting the wine with 2/3 water, and the Jews were drinking from it. What's turmusim? Turmusim, some sort of bean. A lot of people love this kind of bean, and you have to soak it for a long time. You have to cook it for a long time. So they allowed bishul akum, so to speak, of this bean, and then the Jew would eat it. He didn't say anything. Also, they came to the front of Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, you need to go back and make some order over here. You got to tell them. No, I said the story of Ramosh in the wrong place. I should have said it over here with Mamzerim. I want to say another story before I'll tell it to you now. That there's another Meiser Shahaya with Reb Nisim Karelitz. It's a fascinating story. You learn a lot of stuff from it. Reb Nisim Karelitz was called in. He said that there was a woman who's dying in the hospital in Eretz Yisrael, and she wants to become a Giyaris. So he went to check it out, and he said, "Why do you want to become a Giyaris?" She said, "Because her father was Jewish." And he said, "But I discourage it." She said, "No, I want to be buried like a Jew, a whole thing." So Reb Nisim Karelitz went out of his way to find a mikvah that she could be toivel, even though she's a dying woman. Who's going to accept such a woman in the mikvah? And he found a place, and they were megayeh her, and shortly afterwards she was nifter, just to show that he cared about Gerim, etc., etc. There's a lot of stories about Reb Nisim Karelitz and Gerim. But we say, oh, you can never bring a ger. No, even in an extreme case, he went out of his way to be megayeh. Okay. Now I'm smiling to myself because the story that I know of personally, I heard the story. The people that are trying to get green cards in America. So one of the ways to do it is you get married. You get married to an American. So you have a lot of, especially now with all what's going on. It was just in the news yesterday that they said that anybody tries to do this shtick, they're gonna I don't know, threaten them. In other words, people just get married just for the green card. So it's the whole thing. You have to pay somebody. So somebody was saying on Maisa that there's people that they know in the frum community that will, for a certain amount of money, since they're not legally married to their own wives, so they're considered not married, so they'll marry even like their cleaning lady just to make some money. And I was just thinking to myself, is that a problem of Isser Chasnos? Isser Chasnos. The whole thing that that I have Bishul Akum is a problem of Isser Chasnos. That you shouldn't come to marry. So could you marry them? Is that a problem of Isser Chasnos? I'm assuming it's a problem. The whole thing is a problem. I'm just saying to add to the problems. So did I skip anything? I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Hold on. Okay. All my late say that they're the kids of Mamzerim, and Va'al Yenom Mishum Yain Nesach, and the wine that they diluted is Yain Nesach. Val Turmusan Mishum Bishul Yav Dikachavim, and them cooking up the turmusim is a problem of Bishul Akum, and the problem is Chaslas. Mishum She'ena B'nei Torah, since they're not learned people, so they're going to make mistakes. Let's just say all that stuff is also. Abanim Shem Zeirim Rabbi Yochanan Tamei, because Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his own shita. Rabbi Yochanan Loylo Men Ger Achi Yimol V'Yitbol. Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that you don't become a ger until you do Mila and Tefillah. You need both. V'Kiva, there's a lot of notes here. Wow, hold on. Oh, and since he only did half, he didn't do the tefillah, he's still considered an idol worshiper. Listen to this. Havlad Mamzer. That Rabbi Yochanan himself says that a idol worshiper who has a child from a Jewish woman, the kid is considered a mamzer. That's why I go ahead and announce to everybody that the kid is a mamzer, even though the father had a bris, but he didn't have tefillah. The famous Bavusta Maisa, but I could say it because I'm from Chicago. I'm not going to say his name. A very famous, tremendous Talmid Chacham. He's no longer alive. He was one of the Rosh Hashivas in Skokie, and they fired him. So they had a departing dinner, whatever it's called. They had a dinner. In the final dinner, this Rosh Hashiva got up, and he said that there are two that came to the Rebbeinu Shalom crying, Aleinu, and a mamzer. He says, Aleinu, I'm always at the end of davening, and people are always running out, and they're rushed when they say me, it's not fair. So the Rebbe says, I'm going to put you in the middle of the Yom Kippur's davening, and that will be your nechama. Mamzer, nobody wants to marry me. This, that, it's hard. Life is hard. They call me. They may make fun of me. Mamzer. So the Rebbe Shalom looked at him and said, you Mamzer, you know what? I'll make you the president of the Skokie Yeshiva. That was his departing drasha. Zok the Gemara, Ugzor al Yenom Mishum Yain Nesach. And we should make a gzera on their wine because Yain Nesach. Why? Mishum Leich Amrim Naziro, like we had yesterday. Just to remind you, I'm not going to show you the whole thing again, but that video, that if a Nazir could go right through the vineyard, we tell him, go around. There's I didn't mention yesterday, so we'll say it today. There's a big, what do you call them? A psychologist, or even more than a psychologist. He has a lot of patients that deal with addiction. So he doesn't allow them to go to downtown Chicago. Why? Because downtown Chicago in the Sears Tower, or whatever they call it today, the Wilson Tower, there's a big antenna. And that reminds the addicts, as they're getting out of it, it reminds them of a syringe for some reason. Some of them. And it triggers that syringe. No, that's what I was just talking yesterday about, the different things that triggered things. So if you're a Nazir and you're not allowed to have wine, you go through the vineyard, the grapes are going to trigger they're going to say, oh, drink a glass of wine. We have it with our phones. You go into the bathroom, so you immediately reach for your phone or whatever it is. You sit down by the table, you pull out your phone. Certain things trigger. You don't really want to look at the news right now, but when you do a certain act, whatever that is, that triggers. And that's why you have to learn how to replace that, whatever it is, with, instead of taking out your phone, you take out your Gemara. I'm saying whatever it is. You put your phone away. Different methods we're dealing with. But you'll find yourself like doing things that you're not supposed to be doing when you are triggered by certain things. And that's what the Gemara is saying here, that you tell the Nazir, stay away. You tell the guy, stay away from you and wine don't mix. Once you touch wine, you're next to wine, then you start with the Avodah Zarah already. Yeah, I don't want you being next to any wine. Yeah. And the reason why we say that they're not allowed to cook up these beans, they don't know, they're not learned. Now, it seems like if they were Talmidei Chachamim, it would be okay. Why? Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Amar Rav. They said in the name of Rav, Kol shenechal kamoy shu chai, ein boi mishum bishuli avdei chachavim. If you could eat it as is, then there's no bishul akum. But since these beans need to be cooked many times, here, I think we have this over here. Let's see what we have.
Hi, today I'm going to make termossos. This is one of the most popular snacks seen in Portugal. It is just as conspicuous as peanuts in the United States at a ball game. What they are is they're lupini beans. That's the translation in the United States. It's basically a lupini bean that is rehydrated and brined in salt. This is a fairly long process because, like olives that are nasty right off the tree, lupini beans are very bitter. So it takes 6 to maybe 12 to 15 days of soaking to get rid of that bitter taste.
Oh, so you have to soak it 6 times, whatever it is. Emimela, you cannot eat it as is. So if you can't eat it as is, automatically becomes bishul akum. Says Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan holds like the other reason, and that is the Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Amar Rav Kol Sheni Oila L'Shulchan Melachim L'Labes V'Zapas Emer Mishum B'Shul Evdichav. Since kings don't eat these peanut things, these lupini beans, so Memela it's not, it doesn't go on the king's table, and therefore it doesn't have a problem of bishul akum. Time b'nei Torah, ha b'nei Torah shari. And the reason why it's also because they are not learned, but b'nei Torah, yes. Now, Tosfos just points out that everybody agrees that to the first thing, that if it's something, there's two reasons, right? One is Oila Shulchan Melachim, and the other one is Nechal Kamoy Shehu. So Tosfos says everybody holds Nechal Kamoy Shehu. But in addition to that, the question is, do you need both reasons or not? In addition to that, you have another reason that it doesn't go on a king's table. So Rabbi Natan paskins that you need both of these reasons. By the way, I forgot to show you this. It's an Eved that had a Mila and not Tefillah. Let's see. So he's Mechulak, I mean, that it happens one after another. L'tbol v'letzet. They put him right after the Mila, and boom. Interesting. Okay. So it's interesting. I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you do. Just to refresh our memories, we had this. I think, when did I show it? Yesterday. We had this case where at this point, Dorchem Bagas, we said in the Mishnah, does not become wine. It doesn't become wine. It doesn't become yain esek. It goes through this pipe, and only when it comes down here into this bar does it become yain esek. Nevertheless, the Gemara asks a question: what's the halacha if a guy brings boxes of grapes to the press, and there's a lot of juice in the bottom? What's the halacha? Amar lo asur. Again, why? Go around and around. Don't come close to the vineyard. A question. It says mefurish that if a guy brings grapes in a basket, even though it's full of juice, mutar. It says the mefurish that it's mutar. Says the Gemara, you're telling me that he brought? I'm not talking about after the fact. I'm talking about, can you tell him, could you hire him and tell him, help me out to bring these grapes? Of course, if he already brought it, we're not going to tell you to throw it out. All right, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Looks like we're doing okay. Says the Gemara, story. There was an esrig. Turning of the daf. Adar global MDY is enjoying the benefit of Meisters of Adar's MDY clients. Create more Meisters from MDY so Adar can help us all get to Amud Beis. Anonymous. Anonymous as Schus Vatzloch and Ruchnis and Gashmias. A boy said what happened was an esrig fell into a barrel of wine. So I don't know who this is exactly. Somebody sent in his version of AI for this. Why not? Guys looking at esrog and it fell into the barrel of wine, and the non-Jew pulls it out. Okay, that's one version. Here is Rabbi Miller's version. This is elaborate.
What is going on here?
I like that his feet are backwards. Okay.
Get him out! Get him out! Keep his hands in the wine.
An etrog in the wine did sink. A Gentile reached upon the brink. Hold his hand still, Reva, she cried, and tipped the barrel on its side.
It even comes with the AI niggin. Now what? That's what the Gemara says. Well, kemat. So the Gentile jumps in and grabs the esrog. Is that yain esek? So when he's going in to get the esrog, is not a problem because he's thinking about getting the esrog. Once he has the esrog in his hand, Amr Rav Ashi niktu liyode, grab his hands and make sure that he doesn't move his hands. We said the whole problem is that he moves the wine around. Grab him so he doesn't move it around. Ubartzu ad shayfe. Lean and tilt the barrel over, get the wine to a level where it goes below his hands, so he can't go like this. Once his hands are in the ear and not in the wine, then pull him out. Because if you pull him out while his hands are still in the wine, he could still go like this. Do you want to see it again? Let's see the part of grabbing him. Hold on.
What is going on here? Get him out! Get him out! Keep his hands in the wine.
Keep his hands in the wine. So I just like over here, they're putting the faucet in mid-air. And the guy's happy that he's out. A lot of nuances here. Geschmack. Okay. Zog the Gemara Omer Rav Ashi. Hayavi kechavim denaschi lechamri d'Yisrael b'chavana. If a idol worshiper does yayin nesach to a Jew's wine on purpose, what's the halacha? Avagav the zabuni lev kechavim achrina also. Even though you're not allowed to sell it, it's also ba'ana. Shari leile mishkal demei ma'u avid kechavim. You're allowed to take money from that idol worshiper. Now, you might be asking yourself a question because I asked this question. Yesterday I showed you a Tosfos where Tosfos says that if a guy tries to destroy your wine on purpose, it's not yayin nesach. In fact, there's an old man who's a Yirei Shamayim who drank that wine and later on he died al Kiddush Hashem. But that over there is talking about that he tried to damage the Jew. So Chacham weren't geyser, that's yayin nesach. Over here we're talking about he didn't try to damage the Jew. He did it on purpose for Avodah Zarah. He's a big tzaddik, this guy. He wants to worship his getchka wherever he goes. So he sees Jewish wine, he worships with that. He did it on purpose for the Avodah Zarah, not on purpose to damage the Jew. So we could get payment from him. Why? Even though you can't sell the wine, because this guy damaged, since he's a damager, he has to pay for his damages. So pay for the damages. Oh, once he pays for the damages, you're allowed to give him the wine. I'll give you a mashal. When I owned my little plane, I owned a Cessna 182. So worth a few $100,000. No, it's not a jet or anything. And in order to subsidize this mishigas of owning a plane, it's like owning a yacht. It's a money pit, right? Costs a lot of money to hold a plane. So what did I do? I rented it back to the club. So in other words, people would be able to rent my plane. Until this one guy came and rented my plane and he crashed it on landing. He totaled the plane. So he had to pay me, but automatically the plane became his. And then whatever, he went and sold it for a few $1,000s. Upon him, if the guy damages the wine, he has to pay for the damage. Oh, once he paid, then you're allowed to give him the wine. It's not a sale. It's in lieu of the damage payment. My timer, Miklo Kalye, he damaged it. Okay, he has to pay for the damages. How do I know this? When it says that there's a guy who poured the wine not in front of the Avodah Zarah. By the way, this is one of the reasons that they say that shaitels are not a problem from India. Why? Because the Indians they don't cut off their hair in front of the Avodah Zarah. That's not proper. They do it. It's for so since it's not in front of the Avodah Zarah, that's one of the Torah that's okay. So here he did the yain nesach not in front of the Jew. Also, and there are two that say that it's mutar. Why? For two reasons. It only works in front of Avodah Zarah. The other reason is you have no right to answer my thing. Now, we did say that if you take action in the thing, it does become, right? That's why we paskin that the wine is also. But the Gemara uses svara loikol kaheminach. You don't have the right to answer my thing. There is a man that says you do have the right. In other words, if he takes action, destroys it, moves his hands, whatever it is, then yes. Only if he bows to it, then you don't have the right to answer somebody else's thing. But because we say this svara loikol kaheminach, you don't have the right to answer somebody else's thing. So Gemara learns from there, if he actually did damage the wine, in this case we're saying he damaged, he can't benefit, the Jew can't benefit, then he's mechuyev to pay for it. And Rabbi Isai, have a good Voch. I'll see you tomorrow, Beis Hashem. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.